While assessing Alaska's oil project, there is one query that gets me to think critically. How often do we put global safety and financial goals beyond the protection of the natural world and the rights of local communities? Alaska is a place with incredible biodiversity, diverse landscapes, and spectacular scenic wonders. However, a secret reality lies just below the surface. Oil corporations have been searching for oil in Alaska for many years, but a new project is upsetting and worrying people all around the world. What is the purpose of this initiative, and why does it worry so many people? Let's examine the Alaskan Willow project in detail. The Biden administration's approval of a sizable oil development in northern Alaska ties the United States to yet another decades-long petroleum project, despite urgent warnings from experts that only a stoppage to new fossil fuel emissions can stop climate change. At its height, the Willow project by ConocoPhillips would yield 180,000 barrels of oil per day, and burning that oil would emit at least 263 million tons of greenhouse gases over 30 years. The need for oil is not decreasing as the planet heats. A contentious political battle over the project, which was confirmed on March 13, 2023, has highlighted the Democratic administration's struggles to strike a balance between economic factors and commitments to reduce fossil fuel use. The largest oil project currently being considered on public land in the United States is Willow. About 498,000 barrels of oil per day have passed through the Trans-Alaska Pipeline so far this year, which is far less than the 2.1 million barrel high reached in the late 1980s. Upon announcing Willow's authorization, Interior Secretary Deb Haaland emphasized that the number of drill pads had been decreased from ConocoPhillips's initial plan by 40%, indicating that this would benefit both humans and wildlife. Official estimates, however, predict that the firm will still probably succeed in getting most of the oil it wanted, leading to a decrease in greenhouse gas emissions of only 8%. Why the Alaskan oil project provoked nationwide fury? The North Slope of Alaska, which is petroleum-rich, has long been the state's backbone economically, with earnings supporting outlying towns and villages. Yet the state has also seen the effects of climate change. Notably, Arctic sea ice is expected to release carbon as it melts, sea ice is diminishing, and coastal erosion is endangering Native American towns. In addition, oil spills, habitat devastation, and air and water pollution might come from the region's oil extraction. The Alaskan oil project would be situated on territory that many indigenous tribes regard as holy. The proposal would, according to critics, violate the rights of indigenous peoples and potentially harm their way of life. Environmentalists contend that the project cannot be justified given these dangers, since the long-term consequences of environmental harm outweigh any timely financial gains. Environmental activist and writer Bill McKibben questioned the project's sanity in a blog post. Lawyers for an Alaska Native organization and environmentalists have petitioned a federal judge to halt Willow's approval in a lawsuit filed after approval. The fact is that every ton of greenhouse gases produced by the project would contribute to the melting of the Arctic sea ice, endangering polar bears and Alaskan rural areas. According to the International Energy Agency, countries, including the United States, must stop investing in new drilling if they want to achieve their 2050 objective of net zero emissions, which means that only as much greenhouse gas is emitted into the atmosphere as can be absorbed. 90% of global carbon dioxide emissions and 75% of all greenhouse gases produced by humans are attributable to the energy industry. With the goal of weaning the United States off of oil, coal, and gas, Biden has prioritized combating climate change and supported a historic measure to speed up the spread of renewable power sources, typically involving solar and wind energy. Activists claim that Biden's support for the project adds up to a breach of his campaign vow to ban new oil and gas drilling on public lands. But in order to meet climate goals, oil output must decrease during the next several decades. Who is supporting Willow Project? Considerable political support is present in Alaska, including from the state's legislators, the state's bipartisan congressional delegation, and Republican Governor Mike Dunleavy. The project's supporters portray it as reasonable and assert that Willow's taxes would contribute to the funding of public services and upgrades to the town's power grid. The project's proponents contend that it has the potential to boost regional GDP and generate employment. Moreover, they contend that it may lessen the nation's dependence on overseas oil and guarantee a steady and dependable source of energy. Policymakers should concentrate on lowering demand for those fuels rather than aiming to reduce domestic supply. Electric vehicles are a potential replacement for gasoline-powered automobiles and trucks, but they haven't done much to reduce the demand for fossil fuels. According to Environmentalists intelligence research, EVs are anticipated to replace 2.7 million barrels of oil each day by 2030. It represents less than 3% of the world's total oil consumption, which is projected to be over 100 million barrels per day by 2030. Willow's greenhouse gas emissions would be almost 1.7 million automobiles worth, or little over 0.1% of all emissions in the United States. The Willow project will have a disastrous effect on everyone who lives in the Arctic. The project's loudness, traffic, and contamination would severely damage ecosystems that native Alaskans have relied on for countless generations. Willow is only one of several projects, but when all of the smaller programs are combined, the actual threat, which is the climate change root cause, unfolds. This concludes the discussion for the day. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Until next time, take care and stay tuned.